thank you for joining us on our first Muddy Hunter video devotion. We had an introduction. This is our first Muddy Hunter video devotion. And what we're going to talk about today is about the role of being a mentor in the life of a Muddy Hunter. In our introduction, we talked about how the Muddy Hunter, we believe, is someone that seeks God with all their heart. The word seek and the word hunt actually have the same meaning. It means to pursue after with force and to go after. And we believe a Muddy Hunter is one that seeks God with all their heart. And we want to tie that in today with how the role of mentorship relates to the life of a Muddy Hunter. We believe that every Muddy Hunter should have a guide or a mentor and be a guide and a mentor. And so we're going to try to relate that in there today. And we're joined here with Brother Dean Hulse from the Upper Peninsula in Powers, Michigan, where we are hunting this week. Our theme verse for today is in 1 Corinthians 11:1. And Paul says, "Follow my example as I follow the example of Christ." We're going to be talking today with Dean and getting his insight and his experience of being a guide for how many years have you been a guide, Dean?
Professionally, about 27.
Can we first start out by telling us what you do, a little bit about what you do, and maybe the reason why you do what you do?
Okay, not sure exactly why I do it, but it's just a hobby now for the most part. We started doing this professionally in 1988, right out of college, married with 2 kids, and thought this would be something I'd love to do. I mean, everybody said I'd love to have your job until you have to do it for 2 weeks straight, or six months straight at times. But started out in 1988 doing it full time, and love it. Love doing it. And when my boys got old enough to hunt, I haven't shared this. When my boys got old enough to hunt, I decided I needed to be home more because I was somewhere in the country. If there was a season open, since that time it's just been a mission, a ministry, and a hobby.
Share with us maybe the biggest influence you had in your life of how it got you into guiding or even into hunting.
Sure. Yeah, I was raised in a family that had been in the UP for 3 generations, and came from a generation of, if you didn't have venison or didn't have game meat, you didn't eat meat. That was my dad's family, 10 or 11 kids, and it was a different era. But we were raised in a hunting camp. Everybody, weekends we were there. I think every family ought to be raised at an opportunity to go to hunting camp. There's something special about relationships. Even today, though, my kids, my grandkids, my friends that help and such, it's a special time. But we had a camp not far from here in Dickinson County, and we were there every opportunity. And my dad, I remember there's a few specific times with my dad that I remember at his heels, when I was very young, or trout fishing with him. And he just, with 5 boys in the family, we had to take turns. But he was always, very, very good as far as being able to take me with him. And I was probably a little more passionate than some of my other brothers. So I was with him a lot and my first experiences I remember was probably squirrel hunting with him at probably 5 or 6 years old. And I still remember this. We got 1 squirrel that day, and I remember that. But he was a great mentor. And the other thing he did was, on the guiding end of it, our camp was always available for anybody that wanted to go hunting. The guys at church, the guys that just friends, of his, if they wanted to bring their kids, our camp was always available. And there were times it was wall-to-wall kids across the floor of our camp. So that really got me into the guiding end of it. And at that point, when I was in school, I was married with 2 kids. Right out of high school, I got married to my high school sweetheart, and Linda, and then had kids, and then went back to college. When I got out of college, my dad and my oldest brother said, you're taking people hunting all the time, why don't we set up a business? So they helped set it up. And we really guided had camps that helped run in Texas, and took guys to Saskatchewan, and used to be able to lease a couple hundred square miles in Ontario and South Dakota, ran a camp on Kodiak Island, Alaska, and then our camps here in the U.S.
Now that you're a father and a grandfather now, and you're helping to raise your grandson, can you share with us how important you believe it is to actually be a mentor? And like Chad said, if you look back on the mentorship you had from your father and probably from many other people, Can you share with us how important you believe that is, and how that actually has an impact down the road?
Yeah, you know, I've got 2 boys. They're both grown. You know, I'm not old enough to have grown boys, but you know,
You don't look like it.
no, thanks. But they're grown and kids of their own, and you know, that's actually, they were my hunting partners. You know, my wife didn't hunt when my boys, and I don't know if you guys knew that, but when my boys were old enough to hunt, Linda didn't hunt. She had no interest and never had an interest in hunting, and so the boys and I would go to camp, or the boys and I'd come out to the leases, and you know, we'd hunt and they'd help, and I think that's probably the time spent is probably by far the biggest thing the best thing you can do with mentoring. You know, it's funny because and now with Micah, who you guys met, our grandson, who is we've been very blessed to have him live with us, and it's just been a great opportunity, you know, for him. And we didn't go. He didn't. You know, my son didn't set out to have his son living with us, but that's the way God's used it. You know, between military experience and some other situations, and he's really a blessing. You know, I think to be able to lead spiritually and actually learn lessons from a 10-year-old that lots of times, you know, spiritually and he keeps us straight. He really does. You know, at times he does, and you know, he keeps us accountable as much as we keep him accountable. And you guys have met him, and you know, but the other thing is, I think one of the things I really like about guiding is really a learning opportunity. You know, to be a teaching opportunity. I mean, in the hunting, and you know, we try to make our camp stand. People know where we stand spiritually when they're here, and Linda and I pray that everybody that comes through that door will have an opportunity to see what we see spiritually, what we see, you know, and that's more important because this camp, that's what it's used for. It's not, you know, it's a good hunting camp. You know, we've got this week it's been fair hunting, but we've got phenomenal hunting here usually. And that's not as important as what happens, you know, inside the camp and what happens inside lives.
That I know in my life is God has always provided guides at every season of my life. Whether it was when I was in high school, we had some great guides or mentors that kind of navigated us through that season of our life. But the one thing that I realized in my life is that God will always provide a mentor for you or a guide. It's if you want to have a mentor in your life. You know, there's a lot of times where we think that we can do it alone, and we really shouldn't or can't do a lot of things alone. You know, we need to be accountable, like we were talking about earlier with you. We have to have some accountability in our life, and our life is really a cycle of seasons that we've never been through before. It doesn't matter if you're a junior high teenager going into junior high, or you're just married for the first time, or just having kids, or if you're parents that for the first time all your kids are out of the house and it's an empty nest, or even if you're a retirement age, you've never been through retirement. Life is full of a cycle of seasons that we've never experienced, and it's easier to navigate through all the things that we've been through, and you know more than we do because you've been through those seasons that we haven't.
I mean, I'm older than you.
Well, you are. I didn't want to say old, but you've been through some more stuff than we have. But I think all of us here, no matter what our age are, we've recognized that we need accountability. We need mentors. Now, Dean, I'm sitting here thinking about the way we met you, and I believe it was a couple years ago. We were up here in the Upper Peninsula speaking at a game dinner there in Norway, and I believe that's how we met. But I think about anytime you go on a guided hunt or you go on a hunt, you have to meet that guide somewhere. You have to get connected with that guide somewhere. And the spiritual side of that is that you already mentioned the Bible is our map, but God and Jesus is our guide. And I think maybe a good way to end this devotion, maybe to wrap it up, is that Jesus is our guide, and we have to meet him somehow. You know, we have to connect with him, and we have to meet with him somehow. And I know it's just from Chad and I met and started a relationship with Jesus when we were 7 years old. So we just want to encourage anybody watching this, if you haven't met Jesus yet, if you haven't started a relationship with Jesus, he's your ultimate guide. We want to encourage you to do that. In the Bible, in John 14:6, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man come to the Father except through me. Jesus is saying the only way to heaven is through him, it's through Jesus. And he's our ultimate guide. So if you haven't done that, we want to encourage you to do that. John 14:6 is found right here in the Bible where Dean is looking. So, well, thanks again for joining us, and never stop hunting the truth.
Ice. She crashed right there. She's dying right there, buddy. Graveyard dead, baby. That's how it's done. North Branch style, on the true style, baby.